Hey guys, so about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, John over at Nerding Out with Cards asked for a VR, and he's really good about doing these, and does a great job with just kind of interacting with the community. And I told him there I was gonna respond. Um, what he asked for was about people in the card community who have inspired you to buy certain things. And honestly, I gave it a few days because I really wanted to spend some time thinking about who has inspired me and in what ways. And honestly, the part of the hard thing about this is that, like, where do you start and where do you stop and all of that. And there are a lot of people who have inspired me who I don't have any of the cards yet that they've inspired me to buy, but I will. I plan to. I just haven't yet. But there are certainly a lot of the pickups that I've made over the last year that have come as either direct or an indirect inspiration from different ones in the community. And so some of them I've mentioned and shouted out before, but I'm going to do that again in this video. He asked us to specifically do that and to link to their channels. So I'm going to link to, I don't know, 5 or 6 different channels, just people who have inspired me and encouraged me um, to purchase certain things and so on. I don't like the term influencers and things like that, and we talk about that. And I love that Dylan, and he's one of the people I'll show you in a few minutes here. But he's one of the people who's definitely inspired me. But I love how he talks about be inspired, not influenced, and I like that idea. And I know that's John's heart with this kind of VR thing as well, just to talk about the different people in the community that have inspired you. So I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm going to show you some cards, show you what they've inspired me to buy along the way, and hopefully have a little fun doing it. So let's check them out. So I'm going to start with a few that if you have watched any of my channels, you probably know about. The first one is kind of, well, it's a big one. It's my Hall of Fame binder, and I'm just going to set it up in the background here. This is my binder for my Hall of Fame project. You cannot see the whole thing. That's okay. I'm not going to go through the cards just now, but the Hall of Fame project was born out of listening to Mike over at Baseball Collector Mike's podcast. And as I listened to his podcast, and he had one interview in particular where a guy on there was talking about how we need to be willing to kind of not do things the way everybody else does it. And I'd been trying to figure out how to do a project. And so my Hall of Fame project was really born from listening to that podcast. And then as I started watching his channel, I'm just going to show one other card that Mike, a specific card that he inspired me to buy. They were doing their Showcase Showdown, he and Chris. And when they do those runs, they will often kind of pause and show other cards. And he showed this one. They were doing Frank Robinson, and he showed this 75 Frank Robinson, the Indians team set. Talked about how that is the first time that a black manager was ever pictured on a baseball card. And so I loved that. And as soon as he said that, I thought, man, I need to pick up that card. And so when I was in, I believe it was in Strongsville, I made sure to pick that up. Another card I picked up in Strongsville, which was a really weird card to pick up in Strongsville, but I was inspired by Keith over at Lonely Basement. And again, I've shown this card. First of all, because he loves Don Mattingly. Secondly, because he loves to pick up cards that are not Topps cards. I mean, he picks up all the Topps cards. He has, I don't know how many Don Mattinglys he has. Sometimes he has hundreds of the same one. He has a recent video showing that. And so I enjoyed picking that up. It was kind of funny. I quite literally was thinking about him when I ran across it and I bought it, because of him. Because, like, oh man, that's really funny. And then a couple hours later, I ran into him on the floor and we had a good talk. then over at Everyday Card Collector, Jason has been, well, Jason inspired me to go to, well, a lot of people inspired me to go to Strongsville. He gave me the push I needed, the final push I needed, and I talked about that as well. But he's been doing these other issues of cards and things, and he was showing some coins. And I recently picked up my first coin. I'd never had one of these before, but I picked up my first one, 1964 Bill Mazeroski. You know, if you're gonna have one be your first one, why not have it be a pirate? Bill Mazeroski. See if I can get you to. There we go. So that's pretty cool. I was happy to get that. I don't know how many of these I'll get, but I was happy to get one anyway. And then over at this is kind of a twofer, I guess. But Dylan, or not Dylan, I'm sorry, Shane, Shoebox Legends, and Brent. When I stopped collecting, I obviously stopped collecting at the worst possible time because I stopped collecting right before the 90s cards started coming in, and some of those 90 cards are just fantastic, and I had no idea. And so this card is not a card that they've shown. I don't even know that I've seen them show the same kind of card. But I wanted to show it anyway because it's the kind of card that they inspired me to get. It's the kind of card that they show quite a bit, and that's kind of these cards from the 90s that have a bit of shine to them. This is Ricky Henderson. And you know, there's something about, if we're not careful in the hobby, we can be so influenced or wanting to get a certain type of card or a certain type of player that I think we kind of, like, we're not willing to spread out a little bit. And one thing I love about both Brent and Shane is how wide their collecting is and how many cards they collect from so many different years and sets. And I really appreciate that. And it's funny because, like, Shane will show hockey cards, and I don't take this in a bad way. I don't really care about hockey cards. I don't collect hockey cards. I you know, one day I wouldn't mind picking up a couple of good ones, but like, really, the passion and the way that they talk about cards, I love those. So and so I just two more I'll shout out. I'm gonna make some room here with these. When I first started listening to podcasts, the other podcast that I listened to was Adam, Splendid Sports Adam. And my favorite episodes were when he got together with Dylan. And I've shown these cards before. This is actually, I had a whole video dedicated to just my turn back the clock cards, because I remember these from when I was a kid. And there were two of them that I remembered specifically from when I was a kid. It was the Ricky Henderson and it was the Bob Gibson. Now, when I was a kid, I went to a store, and I remember I didn't go to many card shops, didn't go very often. And I remember seeing this card, and I don't know if it just dawned on me for the first time. Probably not. Like, I understood the turn back the clock idea, but I had the 87 turn back the clock. And the idea of being able to pick up a card that was on that turn back the clock card, the idea of being able to have those both, just, it was mind-boggling to me. Well, for some reason, I had several of these cards, but for some reason, the one that always stuck out to me the most was Bob Gibson. Now, as I've gotten to know more about him, my respect for Bob Gibson has grown significantly. What a fantastic pitcher. 1968, what a fantastic year for Bob Gibson. It's clear why they would have picked that year for him. And so that card, that image, really, it always stuck in my mind. Like, I always wanted to see that card, but of course I was never going to get it because that's a card from way back in 1968. Who can afford cards from 1968? Well, then I was at a card show in Pittsburgh, and I saw this one, and, well, I picked it up. And I've just been super excited about being able to get some of these. I have not finished the Turn Back the Clock set. I really focused my attention more on my Hall of Fame binder, and for that reason, I've only picked up a few more of these, I think, since I did my original video. But But man, if you want to talk about inspiration, that's a great group, and there are so many more. Like there's another card that I picked up recently that I'll show off that um, I'm very excited about. But it wasn't. I don't know if it was so much inspired by one of the people on here, but certainly has been encouraged, and there's so many of those things along the way that have happened for me. So John, I won't drag this on any further. It's certainly gone on long enough. But thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for starting this conversation. I really appreciate it, and I know that that I'm not the only one who's been inspired by these guys. I mean, all of these guys have great channels, big channels, and are well worth your attention. I am not bringing attention to them, but if you haven't seen their channels, please do, of course, and just appreciate, I think, what they've done for other people in the community that have appreciated their videos over the years. So that's it for me today. I'll leave it. Thank you very much if you watched this far, and we'll see you next time.